As we all know, Man United did not have the best season last season. In the 2024-25 season, Man United finished all the way down in 15th place. But imagine if Man United could replay their entire season again. And imagine if Ruben Amorim had been there from the start, rather than join halfway through the season in November. Could they have changed their fortunes and qualified for Europe? Well, that is exactly what we're going to find out in this video.
It doesn't matter the last years. If you win here, it will be different.
Man United's first game of the season was the Community Shield final against Man City, and with Ruben Amorim there at the start, we chose the best possible starting 11 with his famous 3-4-2-1 formation. Every game is going to be quick simmed as to make it fair, so the computer is deciding the results. We will be showing you guys Man United's actual results from last season, but things are a little bit different on EAFC.
He is bailing my assholes.
So a slight difference here with the scores, but Man City ultimately going on to lift the Community Shield just like last year. The first game of Man United's Premier League season saw them face Fulham, and with De Ligt out through suspension, we do the auto select so it replaces with the next best player. Now in real life, Man United did win this game 1-0, however as we know EAFC is completely different and they ended up drawing, so dropping points to Fulham. So yeah, as you can see, we are updating the scores as we go. You kind of get the idea, let's speed it up a little bit. The next three games we saw Man United beating Brighton 1-0, Liverpool, I can't believe it, 3-1 win, and also going to Southampton and beating them 2-1 there. Man United were absolutely having a phenomenal start to their season. As you can see, much better than their season in real life, but can they keep it up? September rolled around, which meant the Carabao Cup third round. Now in real life they did beat Barnsley 7-0, however with different opponents on here being Newcastle United. Much stronger opponents, but that did not stop them, beating them 2-1 at Newcastle United and then going through to the next round of the EFL Cup. Back in the Premier League, Man United do have Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, and they went on to dispatch them 2-1, but the most important, Europa League, beating FC Twente at home 2-0. In the Premier League, our last game for September was against Spurs. We managed to hold on and draw 2-2, with Heung-min Son rescuing the points to them right at the death. As you can see, doing much better on EAFC, whereas in real life, Man United lost 3-0 to Spurs. We managed to get a point out of them this time. After this winning streak Man United had been on, we decided to check the table, and we could not believe our eyes when we saw that Man United are in second place. A massive improvement considering that after 6 games last year, Man United were all the way down in 13th place.
Great success.
The start of October saw them back in Europa League against FC Porto, a very strong team. In real life they did draw 3-3 as you can see at the top. Will they do the same on the game? And they did not. Losing 2-1 is a huge upset considering the run of form they're on. Clearly that loss really got to them because they went on to beat Aston Villa, Brentford, Fenerbahce and then West Ham, completing a 4-game unbeaten run and turning into absolute monsters.
Jesus Christ!
The last game of October saw us back in the EFL Cup against Ipswich instead of Leicester that they had in real life, and they have beaten them 2-0 to go through to the quarter-finals of the EFL Cup. With that, we go back to the Premier League table to have a look at the standings.
What?
Man United sitting top of the table in November. As we scroll down the table and have a look at the rest of the teams, Nottingham Forest in 17th.
You're fucking paranoid, you are fucking bastard bitch.
As we look around the rest of the table, we notice that Chelsea are in 14th, the recent Club World Cup winners. Let's look at top goal scorers. As we notice no one in the top 5, we scroll down to see Bruno Fernandes in 10th, once again carrying the team. Just like he is in assists, sitting in 5th place. What about clean sheets? Do we have any? Onana level with Edison? Never. Right, first game of November is against Chelsea. Let's have a look at the results in real life, see if we can replicate them on the game. Man United managed to beat Chelsea in the league, but dropped points against PAOK Salonika in the Europa League, which is not good. Going on to beat Leicester as well, and also Ipswich in the Premier League. But then things took a turn for the worst. Amad Diallo injured for 3 months. It was a heavy blow, but we had other players like Garnacho and Mainu to come in against Bodo Glimt instead. And Mainu ends up getting injured as well.
Yeah, now I'm panicking.
With that big win, let's look back at the Premier League table, and oh my god, Man United are 7 points clear at the top. Although it doesn't really surprise me considering the amazing run of form they've had in the Premier League. With all the other teams fairly unchanged, we decided to go over to the Europa League table and take a look at the standings there. With Man United in 7th, we have a really good position in qualifying. However, Spurs, down in 18th, have a real risk of being knocked out of the tournament. Looking at the schedule for December, it's heavily congested. A quick pause if you want to have a look at the fixture list. In the EFL Cup, we do not have Spurs. We've got Man City, who are arguably slightly more difficult than Spurs. And it's an absolutely terrible start to the heavily congested December by losing to Everton, dropping more points against Arsenal with a 3-3 draw, again dropping more points to Nottingham Forest. They did have a win their game in Europa League against Victoria Pilsen before losing to Man City, but we faced them in the Cup and we managed to beat them on penalties, Højlund scoring the winner. Dropping more points to Bournemouth, winning against Wolves and winning against Newcastle. With that being the end of December and us finally matching a score in real life in the Europa League game against Victoria Pilsen, we have also gone through the EFL Cup. Rather than being knocked out 4-3 to Spurs, we beat Man City 3-1 on penalties. So Man United have gone from being 7 points clear to now 3 points behind Man City at the top of the table. Chelsea are sitting in 12th place and the bottom of the table looks like this. Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton, the bottom 3 that got relegated in real life, are the bottom 3 on here. Top scorers Bruno Fernandes has somehow managed to get 2nd place now, and on the assist he still remains in 5th. For clean sheets, Onana is in 2nd, level with Edison. So a massive difference to real life when at this stage of the season Man United were all the way down in 14th place. Halfway through the season in 2nd place, so far so good. But if we're wanting to beat Man City and lift that Premier League title at the end of the season, we're definitely going to have to pick up our form.
And here we go.
With us now in January, we take a look at the fixture list, and you may notice we have an extra game due to us going through the last round of the EFL Cup rather than being knocked out to Spurs. The first game of the Premier League in January saw us face Liverpool, where in real life they drew 2-2. We also drew on the game 1-1. So with Man United progressing further than they did in real life and reaching the semi-finals in the game, they now face the team who knocked them out in the quarter-finals in real life. With the semi-final being over 2 legs in the Carabao Cup, they needed a strong start in order to progress to the final, and a 1-1 draw at Tottenham was the perfect start for them. After facing 2 strong opponents in Liverpool and Tottenham, they finally had an easy game at home in the FA Cup against Cardiff.
What the hell is even that?
They lost to Cardiff!
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Anyways, back in the Premier League, we are against Southampton, in which they won 4-1. And then after that, they went on to lose 1-0 to Brighton, beating Rangers in the Europa League 4-1 before drawing 2-2 against Fulham in the league, and back in Europa League winning again. So doing much better in Europa League than they're doing in the league. So yeah, only getting 1 win in the league in January.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
A quick glance at the Premier League table now that we've reached February, and Man City are 8 points ahead of Man United. Down at the bottom of the table is fairly unchanged still. With all the qualifying games finished in Europa League, we noticed that Man United have absolutely smashed the league and topped the table. Spurs finishing down in 14th means that they will have to go through a qualifier in order to go through to the next round. The first game of the Premier League in February saw us face Crystal Palace, and with Amad Diallo coming back from injury, we popped him back on the bench. But unfortunately, even though he managed to come on at the end of the game, he didn't change things and it ended 1-1. Right, so at this point it now starts to get really confusing. So in real life, Man United were out of the EFL Cup. They got knocked out to Spurs in the last round. However, on here they're still in the EFL Cup, but they're facing Spurs, who knocked them out in the last round in real life. But in real life, Man United were still competing for the FA Cup. However, on here we got knocked out of the FA Cup against Cardiff in the last round. So the fixture list is a little bit all over the place at the minute. But anyways, the second leg of the EFL Cup against Spurs. The first leg they drew 1-1, and in the second leg they lost 2-1, which meant they went out on aggregate 3-2. So that clears things up a little bit in the fixtures. After that they played Spurs again in the league, drawing 1-1 to them, before beating Everton 2-1, and then drawing 1-1 at Ipswich. So at this point of the season, Man United were now out of the EFL Cup, and also out of the FA Cup, leaving only the Europa League and the Premier League up for winning. With only 11 games left of the Premier League and Man City being 14 points ahead, it was very unlikely that Man United would now finish top. However, a top 4 place would still be very good. But as we go over to see how Spurs got on in their qualifying game, we noticed that they went through 3-2 on aggregate against Braga. As we have a look at the next round of the Europa League, we saw Man United were facing Hoffenheim, and Spurs were at home to Nice. Our first leg against Hoffenheim, we saw that Man United beat them 1-0 despite Manuel Ugarte being sent off. And then back in the league, a tough match against Arsenal ended in 1-1. After the match against Arsenal, we were back in the Europa League against Hoffenheim for round 2, which saw Man United pick up another red card but managed to hold on and win 3-2 on aggregates. Spurs also went through quite comfortably with a 4-0 aggregate win against Nice. And finally, Man United's last game of March saw them beat Leicester City 3-2 at Leicester. With that now at the end of March, Man United still in the Europa League, we finally also picked up a second correct score match. In the Europa League, it was the quarter-finals. Spurs had Real Sociedad, but Man United had a tough opponent in Athletic Bilbao.
Starting to get a bit shaky, you know what I mean? I'm a little bit weak.
But first, back in the Premier League, they went on to beat Nottingham Forest 2-1 and then drawing at home to Manchester City. And then pulling off a fantastic win against Athletic Bilbao 3-2. Back in the league, and they went to Newcastle and drew 2-2 before their return leg to Athletic Bilbao, with Harry Maguire suspended for this game. But that didn't stop them because they won 2-0, 5-3 on aggregate. But the main question was, had Real Sociedad managed to knock out Spurs? Both Man United and Spurs had won their quarter-final match, which meant they were both into the semi-finals. Was history about to repeat itself, and would they meet in the final again?
No! God, please, no!
The last 2 games of the month saw them beat Wolves 2-1 and then go to Bournemouth and beat them 3-1. At this point in the season in real life, Man United won an abysmal run of form. However, on the game, you can see it's completely different with us being unbeaten in the month of April. Going into May, which is the final month of the season, not a lot of Premier League games left, and also we're in the semi-finals of the Europa League. I've seen who we've got as well, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, I'm just going to show you.
Oh, shit.
Just a quick look at the league before we get on with those games. Man United are in second, 9 points behind City, so top spot is looking very unlikely. However, we can still claim top 4. And yeah, bottom of the table is pretty much unchanged. In the Premier League top scorers, we've got Rasmus Højlund in 4th and Bruno Fernandes in 5th. And in the assists, we have absolutely nobody. Clean sheets as well, not even in the top 5. And now the moment we've been waiting for all season to get our revenge on Spurs. And the first leg of the semi-final ends 2-2. We're still in with a chance here. In between matches, we have a Premier League game against Brentford in which Man United win comfortably 3-0. But now, can Man United get their own back on that disappointing loss in the Europa League last year? Man United finally did what they couldn't do before, and they beat Spurs in the Europa League. However, it wasn't over with this only being the semi-final. We had 2 quick Premier League games against West Ham in which they drew 0-0 and Chelsea in which they drew 1-1. But now what they've been working towards all season, again in the final of the Europa League, all they have to do is beat Porto. Once again, Man United's European dream had come to an end. After their heartbreak, they were back in the Premier League for their final game of the season against Aston Villa, in which they drew 2-2, so they didn't overtake them in the league. However, they did manage to finish in a very respectable 3rd place, completing a top 4 finish and guaranteeing Champions League football next season. Man City, Aston Villa and Arsenal also finished in a Champions League spot, with Liverpool and Spurs finishing in the Europa League places. The bottom half of the table saw Nottingham Forest escape relegation, with Leicester City, Ipswich and Southampton being relegated just like they did in real life. In the Premier League, Man United got 2 players in the top 5 goal scorers, with Bruno Fernandes finishing in 3rd and Rasmus Højlund finishing in 4th. For assists, they didn't get anyone in the top 5, and Onana finishing 4th in clean sheets. And in the Europa League, if we scroll all the way down to 17th place, we'll find Rasmus Højlund, who scored the most goals for Man United. And the real question is for the Man United fans, would you have preferred winning the Europa League, or would you have preferred finishing top 4 in the Premier League and getting Champions League football next season? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time. Take care.